Hello and welcome to another Pilates video with movement style. In this video we're going to work with some flexion movements, flexion through the spine, rolling and rounding the spine, side bend flexion and flexion in the hips and knees. We're also going to flow movements a little bit, flowing side bends, flowing leg raises, flowing rotational movements through the spine. Let's get started. Going to come down onto the mat and begin by mobilizing the neck and shoulders just a little. So we roll down through the spine, lengthening out towards the floor, and then let's us ready. Breathe in and sweep the arms up and back to behind the head, and on the exhalation, bringing the arms back towards the sides. So let's breathe in, arms release back, aiming to keep your spine in contact with the mat, and exhalation, arms coming back to the sides. And just flow that through another couple of times, breathing in and then breathing out. And then once more, breathing in and breathing out. And then let's bring the arms above the head and just loosely holding either at the wrists or the elbows. And we're going to gently allow the arms to flow towards one side, flow towards the other side. Just gently flowing side to side like that, releasing a little bit in the shoulder joints, releasing a little bit in the muscles around the sides of the rib cage. And then we're going to allow the neck to, in a very gentle way, roll with the arms, just softly traveling with the arms, more or less fist distance between the chin and the chest, flowing across, and once more just to even up there, coming back to the center, releasing the arms and then bringing them through towards the sides. And then let's limber up a little bit in the lower body. We can bring the legs in and towards us, just circling the hips on the mat 2 or 3 times, releasing the lower back and circling through 2 or 3 times in the opposite direction. Same thing. And then let's just hug the right leg in and towards us, stretch off into the left leg. And then exchanging, hugging one leg in, stretching the other leg away. And coming back again. And then setting up the Pilates neutral spine position, the breathing and engaging the core muscles. So first of all, just going to check that the nose is in line with the navel, the spine is nice and long here. We let the hips lift up and then bring the pelvis towards the mat and balancing the weight out right side, left side across the pelvis. And lift up through the rib cage, lengthen the waist out of the hips and then bringing the weight of the ribs and the shoulders back towards the mat, balancing out right side, left side. And then supporting the head with the hands and letting the neck lengthen from between the shoulder blades through to the crown of the head. And then let's bring the arms alongside the body. Going to align through the legs as well, setting up that 2 fist distance between the feet, so we can bring the insteps together, let the feet swivel on the heels to turn the toes out, and then just bringing the heels in line with the toes. So we should have about 1.5 fists distance at the knees, 2 fist distance at the feet. Now, as we're ready, we're going to breathe in to find the neutral spine position, just rolling the base of the tailbone into the mat and directing the tailbone as if to between the heels. Crests of the hip bones, these bones that I'm pointing to, directed straight towards the ceiling as if we've got headlights on the crests of the hip bones shining straight up into the ceiling. And then checking that there's a little bit of space between the spine and the floor in the back of the waist. Spine through the back of the ribcage should be in contact with the mat, and that fist distance between the chin and the chest with the front of the chin level to the ceiling above us. Let's just practice finding neutral spine another 2 or 3 times so that with the exhalations, the weight of the spine relaxes into the mat. We check that we're staying easy and relaxed through the muscles in the hip joints and through the gluteal muscles, that's to say the bottom. And then as we're ready again, we breathe in, come back to neutral spine. So tailbone directed to between the heels, crests of the hip bones straight up to the ceiling, space at the back of the waist, spine through the back of the rib cage in contact with the mat, neck long and released, and that fist distance between the chin and the chest. So let's just breathe out once more, relaxing the spine into the mat, breathing in, coming into neutral spine position. We're going to focus now on the breathing, just getting our breathing nice and deep, nice and wide to facilitate engaging our core muscles. To begin with, thinking about the nostrils and allowing the nostrils to relax so that with the inhalations they gently open to receive the breath, and on the exhalations they gently relax behind the breath. And think about the space at the back of the throat, the back of the mouth, just allowing on the inhalations that space to gently open and to expand from the inside with the breath, and on the exhalations behind the breath, feeling again that that space can relax and let go. Thinking about the throat, just following the passage of the breath through the throat, observing again on the inhalations that the muscles are relaxed enough in the throat for the breath to open the passage of the throat, and again on the exhalations behind the breath, allowing the throat to relax. And bringing the mind's eye now into the chest, and from the inside as the breath enters the chest, thinking about the space between the breastbone and the spine widening and opening, and on the exhalations allowing that space to close in and down again. And on the inhalations now, thinking about the space in the chest just widening, breathing to the right and breathing to the left, letting the breath direct itself outwards. And on the exhalations, feeling that the ribs once again from the sides gather inwards towards the spine, right side, left side. Just going to try to think about the floating rib region where the ribs separate at the base of the breastbone, create this jagged letter C shape of the floating ribs, and still from the inside allowing the breath to widen the ribs to the right side and the left side, but also back towards the spine, just aiming to, from the inside, fill the floating ribs with the breath. And then on the exhalations, again, just feeling that the breath can leave the body, the ribs gathering in towards the spine at the sides, and the breastbone and the spine moving towards each other. And if we let the exhalation really leave the body in a long, slow stream, beginning from the nostrils, back of the mouth, throat, upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest, we'll feel that on the exhalations, the muscles around the rib cage really begin to engage. Keeping the breath nice and wide from the inside on the inhalations. And on the exhalations, breathing out nostrils, back of the mouth, throat, upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest. And gradually, with this style of wide breathing and the strong exhalation, we should begin to feel that the muscles around our waist are picking up strength, that from deep within the waist, the underlying abdominal core strength muscle at the waist is beginning to engage towards the spine. It will follow the pattern of the rib cage and the ribs in the back of the ribs, moving in towards the spine on the exhalation, and then really deep within the muscles of the waist, a muscle moving in towards the spine to either side. And then at the sides of the waist, on the exhalation as well, feeling that the muscles deep within the waist are engaging in towards the spine. And at the front of the waist, the muscles moving across, so not really back, but across. And often if we put the hands onto the waist, we should be able to feel as we breathe in deep and wide, that there's just a little bit of expansion in the hands into the thumbs, into the webs, into the index fingers. And on the exhalations, as we breathe out nostrils, back of mouth, throat, upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest, that the muscles in the waist are automatically contracting towards the spine, and allowing this contraction to work from deep inside rather than from the point where we feel the contact between the hand and the waist. Let it happen really deep inside. Now with this contraction at the waist, we quite often imagine that the muscles can act like a sort of a belt at the waist. And we can imagine that our belt is actually cinching us in from the back of the waist, gathering us in like a type of corset. And if we imagine the belt with 10 notches or 10 holes, we little by little are gathering the belt in through all those notches through to the 10th notch, so that we're working really deeply and really strongly at the waist. And we aim to isolate the work to the waist, keeping the legs relaxed at the hip joints, gluteal muscles relaxed, and the neck relaxed and the shoulders relaxed. And when we're working as deeply as we can and as strongly as we can, we keep that depth of work going, but we relax the strength back to about the 7th or 8th notch on the belt. And when we've done that, we need to just check in again with ourselves that we're in neutral spine. So tailbone directed to between the heels, crest of the hip bones towards the ceiling, a little bit of space at the back of the waist between the spine and the floor, spine in contact with the mat through the back of the rib cage, and fist distance between the chin and the chest. Let's engage some core strength now in the lower abdomen, and to do this we're going to adopt the pelvic diamond system. So the thumbs come together, the index fingers come together, and the space inside is perhaps a diamond shape. And then we're going to pop the thumbs onto the navel, direct the index fingers towards the pubic bone, and let the heels of the hands rest on the crests of the hip bones. And once again, we're going to think about working from really deep within the abdominal muscles. We've got 3 thick layers of abdominal muscle out towards the sides of the lower abdomen, close to the crests of the hip bones. And let's think about drawing down and back through the deepest of those layers at the sides of the lower abdomen, drawing the lower abdomen away from the heels of the hands. So drawing down and back in the deepest layer, next layer up, and then pulling away in the middle of the abdomen, away from the thumbs and the index fingers. So aiming to keep our breath nice and wide the way we practice, breathing into the inside of the chest, letting it really widen from the inside, and then on the exhalations, drawing down and back and away from the crests of the hip bones, 1 layer of abdominal muscles from deep down, next layer up, and pulling away from the thumbs and the index fingers. So as we're doing this, I always find it much harder to stay relaxed around the breastbone, around the base of the rib cage, in the neck and the shoulders, but really aiming to try and do that. And then a lot of other people find it really hard to stay relaxed at the hip joints and in the gluteal muscles. So just still aiming to stay relaxed in those 2 areas. So we isolate the core strength. So after 3 or 4 breaths, you should have lots of strength here in the lower abdomen. We've already set the strength up around the waist, just checking in with that again, thinking about how in neutral spine we might need to space the spine out again, lots of distance between the hips and the ribs and the weight of the head. And from here, we're going to come into the head hold. So we check that fist distance between the chin and the chest. We squeeze really firmly and deeply into the waist, emphasize the strength at the back of the waist, squeeze the floating ribs in towards the spine, and work hard in the little gap between the floating ribs at the base of the breastbone to hover the head and neck away from the mat. As we're ready, breathing in, rolling back down to the mat. So we need to lengthen the spine, direct the tailbone to between the heels, stretch towards the crown of the head, fasten the belt very firmly, engage firmly to the back of the waist, hug the floating ribs into the spine, and squeeze at the base of the breastbone to come up. So we're still maintaining this fist distance between the chin and the chest, breathing in to roll back down. So the legs stay relaxed, gluteal muscles stay relaxed, and in theory, we could still just about post a letter in underneath the back of the waist, between the spine and the floor. We need to think about lifting the spine. So rather than pulling the throat up, we're aiming to lengthen from between the shoulder blades, lifting the spine from the center depth of the spine, coming back. So it's really an upper back spinal hold, and returning. Shoulder blades stay wide and they keep moving in the direction of your sitting bones, collarbones open, breathing in to return. And let's work one last one. Lengthen the spine from between the shoulder blades, lift the whole of the weight of the upper spine, squeeze in the waist at the base of the breastbone, breathing in to return. So that's a little bit of spinal flexion through the upper spine. And we're going to now think about flexing at the hip joints, coming into the knee float. So with this, again, legs nice and relaxed at the hip joints, and let's just practice for the knee float with coming into a heel raise and then releasing. So with the exhalation, the heel peels away from the mat, and on the inhalation returns. And what tends to happen when we're not prepared for it and we lift one heel away from the floor in this position is that the waist automatically sags into the mat, or we push the other leg into the floor to stabilize us, or we push the pelvis down into the floor to stabilize. What we're aiming to do in Pilates is to support the neutral spine position as we release the contact of one heel away from the floor, whilst supporting that from out of the core. So we need to work deeper and deeper into the core muscles so that we don't need to push the waist into the mat or the pelvis into the mat or to grip in the other leg. And it works essentially like this, that we lengthen the spine from the tailbone to the crown, especially lengthen over the front of the spine, release through the inside of the hip joint towards the inside thigh, inside knee, and then breathing in to return. Core strength needs to work deeply into the back of the waist, breastbone and spine need to be moving together, lower abdomen well hollowed. And then gradually, as we feel that we're able to control this small movement, though it's actually quite difficult, then we're going to peel the foot away from the floor, still releasing through the inside leg, knee float position. Breathing in here, and on the exhalation, again, renew your core strength, lengthen the spine, tailbone to crown, and float the leg back down towards the mat. So breathing in wide the way we practiced, breathing out pelvic diamond, belt fastened ribs gathering in towards the spine, floating one leg away with no extra pressure going into the hips or work into the supporting leg. Inhalation here, exhalation to lower. So check in neutral spine, breathing in, stretching neutral spine, breathing out pelvic diamond, belt, ribs gathering into the spine, floating your leg up, breathing in here, breathing out, engaging the core strength, support neutral, leg returns to the mat. So breathing in to prepare, breathing out to float up, breathing in here, breathing out to return to the mat. Let's give it one more go to each side. Breathing out, knee float to the right, breathing in, breathing out, release the leg as you stabilize your spine. Breathing in to prepare, breathing out, knee float, floating through, breathing in and breathing out to float back down. I'm going to see whether we can add in the head hold to this, but with an oblique action. So first of all, let's practice the head hold with the oblique action. That involves same practice as we did before, but we squeeze extra hard into the muscles on one waist. And then let's give it a go to the other side. So head hold, squeezing the waist in, squeezing the muscles at the base of the breastbone together, squeeze hard into the left waist, breathing in to come back. Small of the back still stays in neutral, and also the pelvis stays level, breathing in to return. So we need to just squeeze extra hard into this waist. We're lifting up more than moving around. Right shoulder blade aims in the direction of the left knee. And now the left shoulder blade aims in the direction of the right knee. Breathing in to return. And last time, breathing out, head hold, breathing in to return. So if you feel ready, we're going to challenge that with holding a knee float. So once again, setting up into the neutral spine. So tailbone directing to between the heels, crests of the hip bones to the ceiling, waist nice and long, and space between the spine and the back of the waist and the floor, spine in contact with the mat through the back of the rib cage, and fist distance between the chin and the chest. Pelvic diamond, belt fastened, breastbone and spine moving towards each other, rib cage narrowing at the sides, exhalation to float your knee up, and breathing in to prepare, exhalation, oblique. So we can just reach through and returning. Just reach through with your arm and returning. So as you reach with the arm, let it give you a little bit of lift and energy, but the main effort is still coming from the waist, The muscles at the base of the breastbone still moving through the spine to lift. So lengthening from between the shoulder blades to the crown, breathing in to return, flowing up, breathing in to return, breathing out, flow up. One last one, breathing in to return and breathing out to lower the leg. Let's check in with our neutral spine again. Lots of space between the tailbone and the crown, pelvic diamond, belt fastened, breastbone and spine moving towards each other, ribs tapering in towards the spine. Exhalation, knee float, breathing in to prepare, and now again, head hold with oblique and breathing in to return. Directing your right shoulder blade towards your left knee, breathing in to return, squeezing the back of the waist, sides of the waist, squeezing the muscles at the base of the breastbone, breathing in to return. Keep lengthening the spine from between the shoulder blades. Move from out of the center depth of your spine, collarbones open, shoulder blades wide, and moving down the back, 2 to go. Breathing out to squeeze up, breathing in to return, and very last one, squeeze and return to the mat. Exhalation to knee float the leg back to the floor. Good, very well done. And then let's just hug the legs in and towards us, just rocking the hips side to side to give the lower back a rest there. Going to now move on into the upper body and working a little bit with the shoulder blade placement in the upper back and the muscles that support the shoulder blades and the weight of the arms in the upper back. So it's a release and return exercise. I'm going to think in terms of both arms working together. Setting up our neutral spine again, so tailbone directed to between the heels, crest of the hip bones to the ceiling, a little bit of space at the back of the waist, spine in contact with the mat, and that fist distance between the chin and the chest. Working the pelvic diamond lightly, fastening the belt around the waist lightly. And here with the arms, we're going to let the collarbones be nice and broad and wide, shoulder blades relaxed against the back of the rib cage and slipping down the back. And the idea here is to release the muscles between the spine and the shoulder blade on the right side, let them stretch. To release the muscles over the back of the shoulder joint towards the elbow, let them stretch. And gradually then the right arm stretches up a little bit. As we're ready, we're going to breathe out and engage the muscles again between the shoulder blade and the spine and working over the back of the shoulder joint to return the arm into the shoulder socket. So left side then, as we breathe in, releasing between the spine and the shoulder blade, releasing in the muscles between the shoulder blade and the back of the upper arm, stretching towards the elbow, towards the fingertips, and then breathing out, contracting between the shoulder blade and the spine, working over the back of the upper arm to draw the arm back into the shoulder socket. So aim to stay in neutral spine here, breathing in to release from behind, breathing out to return, breathing in to release from behind, breathing out to return. We're going to let the arms sway together in a very gentle way so that we still stay soft and relaxed through the inside of the arm and across the front of the chest, the fingertips just touching. And then on both sides together, releasing the muscles between the shoulder blades, the rhomboids, stretching on through over the muscles on the outside of the shoulders, the deltoids there, and to some extent the triceps. And breathing out with squeezing the muscles again between the shoulder blades and the spine and engaging the muscles over the back of the shoulder joint. Now the shoulder blades, I'll just get up for a moment, but you can stay lying down. The shoulder blades should stay pretty much centered to either side of the spine on the return movement. So as we breathe in, we're releasing between the shoulder blades, stretching over the outside of the upper arm, breathing out, returning, so the shoulder blades are centered to either side of the spine in each side of the rib cage. So we're avoiding anything too much of a squeeze. So it's breathing in and then breathing out. And gradually we're going to see whether as we breathe out and reset the shoulder blades, we can also, with the strength of the upper back and back of the arm muscles working, open the arms out to the sides. Breathing in to return. So let's just see that also lying on the mat. So the arms starting position, breathing in to release from behind and breathing out to work between the shoulder blades and the spine, working over the back of the upper arms, arms wide. Breathing in to come back to the center and to release from behind. Breathing out to engage from behind and to widen the arms, carrying them outwards with the strength in the upper back. So let's work twice more here. Breathing in to lengthen upwards, breathing out to connect down and to widen, breathing in to flow back up and to release upwards, breathing out to connect and to widen there, and just releasing and relaxing the arms towards the sides. Very good. We're going to come through now towards the all fours and coming back to a flexion action. We're going to think a little bit about the cat stretch. So first of all, lengthening out the spine. Let's send the hips back towards the heels, directing the tailbone back as if it could touch the wall behind us, lengthening the crown of the head forwards, stretching the spine in between, arms extended just as much as feels comfortable. And if your knees aren't comfortable in a fully flexed position like that, then just working slightly differently where you're resting on your forearms, making sure your abdominal muscles stay lifted up and back to support your spine and lengthening back like this. And then as you're ready, we're going to, from either of those two positions, come through to the all fours. And ideally, we just set up this 1.5 fist distance again between the knees. We let the hip joints rest above the knee joints, spine lengthens forwards, collarbones nice and broad and wide, and the shoulder blades wide and moving down the back. So essentially, same strength in the upper back as we had in this exercise at this point, just a moment ago, lying on our backs. From here, we're going to roll the spine using the core strength. Let's draw the tailbone down as we draw into the pelvic diamond in the lower abdomen, broad and wide, scoop and hollow. Let the navel pull to the spine, sides of the waist move in and up, front of the waist lifts. We squeeze the muscles at the base of the breastbone to really round the spine, head and neck moves downward. Breathing in here, breathing back, really let the back of the ribcage expand with the breath, and then on the exhalation, rolling the spine back towards neutral. Quickly let your tailbone direct behind you again, and then each vertebra moves downwards and forwards towards the crown of the head. Reset the upper back strength, hold the midsection in position with your core muscles. Breathe in to release your upper back upwards and forwards. So once again from here, on the exhalation, activating the pelvic diamond really firmly, broad and wide, scoop and hollow, navel pulls to the spine, sides of the waist move in and up, squeeze the muscles at the base of the breastbone, really rounding into the cat stretch, breathing in here, breathing back, and breathing out to once again direct the tailbone behind you, pelvic diamond, belt fastens back, side and front, collarbones open, shoulder blades wide and moving down the back, upper back moves forwards and upwards. So let's flow that twice more, rolling the spine here, lots of core strength working, aiming to keep your legs relaxed and using the core to move the spine. Breathing in this downward position, and then once again articulating the spine, vertebra by vertebra from the base of the spine, supporting each vertebra back to neutral, and then lengthening forwards and upwards through the upper spine. So last time to roll through, core muscles working all the way through, breathing in here, once again articulating the spine back out, broad and wide pelvis, broad and wide ribs and shoulders, spine very free, upper back moves forwards and upwards. And once again, with an exhalation, either lengthening back or resting on the forearms and stretching the spine back. So a few breaths here. And then again, as you're ready, breathing in, bringing ourselves through towards the all fours position, back of the hips, back of the shoulders, back of head level, and engaging the core muscles again, our pelvic diamond, nice and firm, broad and wide, hollowing out to the crests of the hip bones and lifting through the center, navel pulling to the spine and fastening the belt at the back and the sides and the front, collarbones broad and wide and moving down the back. Let's say we're going to keep the support in the right arm as we let the left arm lift out. And as the left arm lifts out, it's that same strength across the back of the arm that we had in the wide position of the arms that we just practiced a moment ago, lying on the back. So your shoulder blade connecting towards your spine and the muscles working over the back of the arm, so that I'm essentially lifting the arm from behind rather than just bringing the arm up, swinging up from the hand almost, lifting up from behind. And the idea from here is that we will rotate the spine using the strength in the waist, rotating towards the right side, muscles working around the ribs, rotating the rib cage, and then additionally passing that left arm under. So that's our exhalation. Inhalation to unfurl and to return the arm. So let's see if we can work another 3 times, starting from neutral spine, core strength working to spiral the waist, to spiral the ribs, arm follows through. Breathing in to unspiral through the spine, to reset the neutral spine, to connect the arm from behind. So there's always a danger in these exercises that we start to lead from the arm, but the idea is to lead from the core strength. The spinal movement begins, the core strength supports it. Spinal movement begins, core strength supports it, and the arm follows. Last time, breathing out here. So once again, waist working really firmly, spiraling the ribs, reaching through. Once again, breathing in to return, neutral spine, arm lifts from behind, and then relaxing and letting go. So thinking about the other side, so sometimes just rechecking your neutral spine position. So pelvic diamond working hard, waist muscles cinching in, fastening the belt, ribs engaging towards the spine at the sides, and the breastbone and the spine moving towards each other, shoulder blades wide and your upper back muscles active. So on an inhalation, the arm moves out to the side. You're just checking that you're a neutral spine, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. And then from here again, the waist muscles are working. Front of the waist begins that action, back and sides following it through. Arm travels under. Once again, waist muscles leading, muscles around the rib cage working, and the arm opens out to the side. Exhalation, leading through the waist, spiraling, arm passes under, threads through. Once again, we unspiral, and once again, connecting the arm from behind. So 2 to go. Spiraling through the waist, exhalation, working the muscles around the rib cage, and the arm follows through and under. Breathing in to unspiral from the center, opening the arm off to the side. Last time, here we are, spiraling at the waist, moving through, spiral through, reaching under, and once again unspiraling, and the arm connects into the upper back, and then returning the hand to underneath the shoulder joint. Let's stretch back and relax. If you're comfortable in the child's position, let the arms come alongside the legs here, resting the head to the floor, or you can support it with a block or a cushion or a pillow, or this way around as well. Just spending a few moments to really let the upper back relax after that last thread the needle exercise. And so as you're ready, just gently rolling up through the spine, abdominal muscles lifted, vertebra by vertebra coming back up to upright. And then from here, we're going to come through and lying on the side. Come Coming onto the side always needs a little bit of mind in body to follow the line of the spine. It's not quite so easy to find neutral on the side as it is lying on the back. We don't have quite so many reference points to help us place the spine. So what I always do is feel the weight of my hips on the floor, and the base of the spine begins in the lower back, in the back of the hips. So from there, with my pelvic diamond switched on and my waist strength switched on, I follow my spine out of the hips, vertebra by vertebra, bringing it down towards the floor, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head aligned. And then at this point, I'm just going to support my head and neck with a block or a rolled up towel or pillow. And then in theory, I've got back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. I need to check that I've got one hip directly above the other rather than a twisted spine position, so hip stacked, and one shoulder directly above the other. Shoulder blades wide and moving down the back and the upper back muscles working. Fist distance between the chin and the chest. So letting the legs be relaxed through the inside of the hip joints. And once again, renewing the pelvic diamond, so making it a bit stronger. This broad and wide scoop and hollow out towards the crests of the hip bones, drawing back through the center. Navel can pull to the spine, and then fastening the belt from the back of the waist into the sides of the waist and across at the front. We've got 5 vertebrae in the waist, and we can think about an individual belt supporting each of those 5 discs and vertebrae in the mid-spine. So muscles around the rib cage again active. And as we're ready, you're just going to breathe in to prepare, and then breathe out, extending into this top leg. So as the leg extends, allow yourself to weave in some small of back, lower back strength. Pull up through the gluteal muscles as if your sitting bone is going to arrive in your shoulder blade. And then we're going to come back into a flexion action. Hips flexing, knee flexing, coming forward just to that knee float position, keeping the spine in neutral. And then once again, squeezing the ribs in, squeezing the waist in, pelvic diamond, weaving in some small of back, lower back strength, drawing up through your gluteal muscles and working into your thigh. So breathing in, supporting the spine in neutral, keep the lower waist lifted, pelvis stacked, small of the back in position. Breathing out to lengthen the spine from the tailbone to the crown, squeeze the ribs in, squeeze the waist in, weave in some small of back, lower back strength, pull up in the gluteal muscles and feel your thigh muscles working front and back. Breathing in to return. This flexion action, hip and knee joint, keeping the spine in neutral. Breathing out to press away. Breathing in to flex, keeping the lower back in neutral, so avoiding this position, keeping the lower back in neutral. Breathing out, ribs, waist, small of back, lower back, bottom, pulling up front and back of thigh. Breathing in to come in, lower waist stays off the floor, breathing out to press away. Let's give it one more shot in this movement. Breathing in to come in, breathing out to press away. So now from here again, check breastbone and spine moving together, waist strong, pelvic diamond strong, squeezing in the gluteal muscles. We're going to raise the top leg, breathing out, breathing in to return. So lengthen through the whole spine, stretch through, reaching away, breathing in to return. So ideally, this lower waist and rib cage stay off the mat, breathing in to return. Keep drawing the gluteal muscles up as if they're going to arrive in the sitting bone, breathing in to return. So let's do 4 more. The curtains are not necessarily part of the exercise. So we flow through again, keep lengthening the spine, breathing in to return. Lower ribs and waist stay very strong, breathing in to return. And a very, very last one, support your spine, support the position of your pelvis, breathing in to return and relaxing. Good, well done. So let's bring that lower arm forwards and we can place both arms together. Head resting on the block or support, folded up towel. Just checking again that we're in neutral. Back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level, pelvic diamond working, waist strength working, rib cage engaged. And here we're going to breathe in to let our top arm begin to circle round. The shoulder blade staying anchored towards the spine. And then as we're ready, exhalation to use the strength in the back of the waist to bring us into a twist, maintaining the pelvis in position with the pelvic diamond, twisting around, the arm goes behind us, breathing in here, and then as you're ready again, waist strength working to roll you back onto your side. Chalk circles. Let's begin with just checking that we're in neutral spine, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level, pelvic diamond engaged, waist fastened, muscles around the rib cage working, shoulder blades wide and engaged towards the spine. We're going to keep the muscle between the shoulder blade and the spine working as the arm moves upwards on an inhalation. So the shoulder blade doesn't ride up like that, but it stays in position, breathing in. And then with an exhalation, using the strength in the back of the waist and the back of the ribs to bring us into a twist, keeping the shoulder blade anchored towards the spine in the upper back, widening the arm off to the side. Pelvis stays in position, breathing in here, and with the exhalation, using your waist strength again to return you from the twist action. So inhalation, shoulder blade engaged towards the spine, arm comes alongside the face. Exhalation to use the strength in the back of the waist, back of the ribs to bring you into the twist. Pelvis stays in position, breathing in here in the twist, and then once again coming back using the strength of your waist at the front to return you to lying on the side and neutral spine. Shoulder blade in position, anchored towards the spine, breathing in, arm begins to move. Exhalation, we spiral the spine, keeping the arm connected in the upper back, breathing in your twist, and once again breathing out to return using the core strength to lying on your side. Last one, breathing in, allowing the arm to travel up to alongside the ear, breathing out, coming into the twist. You can always follow the arm with your eyes, check that your pelvis stays anchored in position, breathing in the twist, and once again with the exhalation returning, using the strength in the waist to bring you back onto your side. Let's work through on the second side. So we press up, and then once again thinking about the weight of the pelvis on the mat, thinking about the base of the spine, and then gradually just following the spine as it moves through the waist, coming down onto the mat, core strength, pelvic diamond and belt already fastened, lengthening through the spine and the rib cage until we arrive here on the side. So we can again support the head and neck, just check in with our neutral spine position, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. Pelvic diamond, really make it work quite intensely here, broad and wide, scoop and hollow, and then drawing back through the center. Navel pulling to the spine, imaginary belt working backside front, all around the waist, maybe thinking about a separate belt for each vertebra, and the ribs tapering in towards the spine there. Shoulder blades wide and moving down the back, hip above hip, shoulder above shoulder. And then this is where we are going to, as we're ready, extend the top leg so that your spine keep lengthening, tailbone to crown, pelvic diamond, belt fastened, working around the rib cage really firmly, and the line of the spine stays even, right side, left side, so avoiding any sinking into the mat. So from here, inhalation, we flex at the hip joint, flex at the knee, keeping the lower waist in neutral. Breathing out, lengthen the spine, pelvic diamond, waist strength working, weave in your smaller back, lower back strength, pull up through the gluteal muscles and drawing up through the front and back of the thighs. Breathing in to let the leg move forward, staying in neutral also at the back of your waist. Breathing out, lengthen your spine, core strength works,
weave in small of back, lower back strength, pull up through the gluteal muscles, work through the thigh, front and back. So breathing in, breathe back. This will really help you to maintain the neutral spine. Breathe out, lengthen your spine, tailbone to crown, press through into the leg. Breathing in to return. Breathing out, lengthen the spine, pelvic diamond, waist, ribs working. And once again, breathing in, flexing. Breathing out to press away, maintain the neutral, 2 to go on this exercise. Breathing in, the flexion. Once again, exhaling, set the neutral spine, press away. Breathing in, the flexion, and a really strong set, small of back, lower back, gluteal muscles pulling up through the thigh. Next movement, the leg raise. So we need to really shore up in the underside of the body, out breath to press away, breathing in to lower. So you can always work into that flex foot action if you prefer, breathing in to return. Collarbones stay broad, shoulder blades wide and moving down the back, breathing in to return. So the action for moving the leg really begins here in the rib cage, squeezing in, waist squeezing in, lengthen the leg from about here all the way through and come back. So you lengthen through the inside leg, although you're working on the outside of the leg. I think it's 4 to go. So breathing out, press through, breathing in to come back. So work from here, squeeze the ribs in, squeeze the waist in, weave in your small back, lower back strength, pull up through the gluteal muscles, then the leg moves. Work through all of the core, keep your spine lengthening, work through the core, then into the bottom, then into the leg. Keep that lower side of the body shored up, aiming not to use extra pressure from the arms and hands for the movement. Last one, press through and breathing in to return and relaxing. So it's very tough. It's really when we isolate to these movements, and it's not this kind of action, flinging the leg up, pressing the waist down. It's really, really controlled, working deep into the muscles, working lots of muscles on a very specific line. That's what's very tiring. But that's what's very effective as well for toning the body up. So let's pop the block in there underneath the side of the head, shoulder above shoulder, hip above hip, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level, the arms coming forwards. So once again, shoulder blades placed the way we practiced earlier on in the sequence, hip above hip, shoulder above shoulder. Once again, as we're ready, on an inhalation, we keep the shoulder blade anchored and we let the upper arm begin to travel around so it comes alongside the profile, alongside the ear. We can follow the arm with our hands. Exhalation, we're going to engage in the back of the waist to bring us into a twist, back of the rib cage. Breathing in our twist. And then once again, as you're ready, using the strength at the front of the waist to come right through and onto the side. Breathing in to, again, flow the arm around, keeping the shoulder blade anchored. Breathing out to engage the muscles in the back of the waist. Hold the pelvis in position with your pelvic diamond strength. Muscles around the back of the rib cage and upper back support this spinal twist in the rib cage and the weight of the arm. Inhalation and then exhalation to flow back onto the side. So in this particular type of twist, there's no aim or intention for the upper back to reach the floor. And also the arm stays in line with the shoulder joint. We avoid any tendency to let the arm drop down back. We're using the upper back strength to support the weight of the arm here. And it's very different from a mobility exercise where the hips would release and the upper back might very well come to the mat. This is essentially a strength exercise for the core muscles. So last time we're going to breathe in, arm moves to the line of the profile, keeping the shoulder blade in position. We engage the strength in the back of the waist to bring us into the twist, back of the rib cage, and supporting the arm in the upper back. Breathing in here, and once again with the exhalation, returning, using the strength at the waist, and we're all the way through again and lying on the side. Well done. So that's got us through that first set of side lying exercises.
And now we're going to think a little bit about the side bend exercise. So once again, a flexion, a side flexion, and if we can, this flowing rotational action that we've seen already in the threading the needle exercise. So to set up for the side bend, we're going to let the legs come in line with the hip joints, so lengthening out the angle at the front of the hip. Once again, thinking in terms of our back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level, neutral spine position. We need to, from this position as well, create the neutral spine through the side of the body. So to do that, we engage the pelvic diamond and then navel pulls to the spine, fastening the imaginary belt really firmly around the waist at the back and the sides and the front. Back and the sides and the front, but of course this underside has to work particularly hard to support us in this position. We also need to get this action of the ribs engaging towards the spine at the sides, and ideally breastbone and spine move towards each other. Shoulder blades wide and moving down the back, connected into the upper back. So now from here, we're going to see whether we can flex firmly enough between the pelvis and the ribcage to get up into a side bend. Side bend, breathing in to return, seeing if we can return to a position with the hips off the floor. If we need to, they come down. So squeezing between the base of the ribcage and the pelvis, and then we might think about adding in our arm action, breathing in to return to that neutral spine position. So once again, flexing between the pelvis and the ribcage, let the side flexion happen and the arm movement follows. Shoulder blade again stays anchored to the position by the spine, so that's starting position. So as we flow through, keep the shoulder blade anchored, drawing in towards the spine. Breathing in to return, and last time, once again, squeezing in the waist, flow the arm through, it follows, breathing in to return, and let's release down. Let's swap sides to give that shoulder and elbow a rest. Other side. So once again, we align the legs with the pelvis. So opening up the angle on the front of the hip joints. And we get back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. Just thinking about creating a triangle essentially. So the elbow should be underneath the shoulder joint. Shoulder blades wide and moving down the back. Pelvic diamond working, belt fastened really firmly, backside front, navel pulling to the spine, and this lower side of the body working very hard to underpin our position. And then once again, as you're ready, the side flexion, so where we squeeze between the rib cage and the pelvis to create that spinal side flexion, and then return either to neutral here with the hips off the floor or with the hips on the floor. So squeezing through. So once again, we let the lateral flexion, the side bend work on its own. We really shore it up with pressing up with this underside of the ribs and the waist. Shoulder blade is in the set position. The arm flows through, breathing in to return here. Exhalation, pelvic diamond, waist flexion. Shoulder blade stays in position. Again, we can follow the action of the arm with our eyes, breathing in back to neutral, breathing out, let the spine and the core strength lead, and the arm just follows, giving us a little bit of lightness and energy. So last time, core strength works, side flexion, and flow through, breathing in and back to neutral, releasing through to the mat. Good, excellent. I'm going to come back to the first side, and returning again to this idea of the threading the needle action. So this is where once more we think about this triangle, so creating the right angle between the floor and the elbow, and the shoulder joint directly above the elbow, nice and broad and wide in the pelvis and in the shoulders and in the rib cage. And then once again, as you're ready, pelvic diamond working, belt working, lifting through, muscles around the rib cage working. Once again, we're coming back to this wide arm action, with the arms connecting into the upper back to the shoulder blades and the shoulder blades connected to the spine. So now from here, the muscles at the front of the waist work to bring us into the spiraling action. Core strength leads, arm follows. Back of the waist works to bring us out of the position. Under waist and under ribs work to shore us up. Connect the arm into your upper back. So lead from the core. If you lead from the arm going in, it will be impossible to come out with control, which will mean the next time going in will probably collapse. So we untwist. Once again, lead from the abdomen. Keep the lower side of the body strong. Twisting, rib cage muscles working. Arm flows under. Untwist, use your core. Arm reaches up. Last time. Breathing out, flowing through with the core strength. Reaching under. Back of your waist works, back of your ribs work. Reset your upper back strength. And as you're ready, releasing down from that. Very good. Let's come on to the other side. So here we are, once again, setting up. So right angles between the mat and the arm. Angle over the front of the thighs, nice and open. And again, just engage your core strength. Feel that it's your core strength that supports your pelvis away from the floor. Pelvic diamond, back of waist strength, belt fastening, breastbone and spine move towards each other, ribs engage in towards your spine, drawing up nice and firmly. Keep the inside leg lengthening, pull up front and back of thighs and gluteal muscles, connecting the arms into the upper back. As we lead from the abdominal core, so engage from the front, lower waist and ribs need to work hard, twisting under, breathing into untwist, use the core, upper back muscles reset, lower waist and ribs are really strong to shore you up. Exhalation, twisting under, inhalation to unspiral, back to that starting position. Once again, from a position of strength, flow through, lead with your core muscles, breathing into unspiral, get the back of your waist working, back of ribs, back of shoulders, reset the arms, and last time here, squeeze from underneath, really squeeze, and as you're ready again, breathing in to untwist, reset your neutral, upper back strength working, spine long, and then releasing down. Very good. So of course again, it's quite hard work, quite challenging, but it's worth working for. It's fun to do, you know, like a lot of things, it's fun to do. We've got to work on it a little bit to arrive there. So we're going to then just release the lower back, coming forwards, collarbones nice and open, shoulder blades wide and slipping down the back. So we're ideally pretty much in a neutral spine here. If you prefer, you can always, you know, have a little bit of support for the head possibly. Could be higher support, lower. Sometimes feels good. So breathing. And then once again, as you're ready, breathing in to roll up and away from that position. Going to think about coming up to standing now and work our last exercise called the offering, and we'll roll up and down from standing forward, then back to standing, just to release the spine and give it a good stretch here at the end of the practice. Here in standing, let's set up our neutral spine position. So taking up our 2 fist distance at the feet. So again, we can do it the same way that we did it lying down. We can bring the insteps together, squeeze the muscles at the tops of the thighs, turn the legs out, and then bring the heels in line. So with the offering, we've got lots of flow and lots of flexion. And what happens is that the arms come forward and across the chest. We let the knees bend and we roll it around, same way as we do with the cat stretch. So actively using your core strength to roll you forwards and under.
So you're really supported from beneath, from the core. Then from here, we're going to rotate the arms at the shoulder joints, letting the shoulder blades find that position wide to either side of the spine with the muscles between the shoulder blades working. And then we unfold through the spine, keep the shoulder blades anchored as we reach up. So on the inhalation, we're going to let the knees bend. We roll with the strength that we used for the cat stretch to round forwards. Just let the arms fold. And then once again, as you breathe out, rebuild your upper spine. Let your shoulder blades be wide and engaged towards the spine. So we set the shoulder blades and then reach on up. So it's our inhalation to roll forwards, rotating the arms at the shoulder joints, let your shoulder blades come into position. Exhalation, breathing in to stretch up. Exhalation to let the arms come down, and then rolling on your inhalation, exhalation to rotate, inhalation to stretch up. Exhalation, arms come in, rolling down on your inhalation, exhalation to rotate, breathing in. Exhalation, arms come down, breathing in, roll down, exhalation, rotate, breathing in to extend. Once again, exhalation, last time, rolling forwards on your inhalation, exhalation to rotate the arms, engage your upper back and flow up. And then this time, exhalation to relax the arms. Good. So from here, let's work into a rolling up, rolling down action. So once again, our 2 fist distance at the heels, having a sense of the inside legs lengthening down. So from the inside or the front of the spine, releasing and lengthening through your inside hip joints, inside knee, heel. Core strength supporting the spine, lengthening upwards. Gluteal muscles lifting up beneath the hips and the backs of the thighs pulling up, kneecaps and fronts of thighs lifted. From here, as we're ready, exhalation to roll forwards and downwards. So keep the core muscles lifted up beneath the spine, allowing the knees to bend so the spine can really roll. And from here, breathing in to find a neutral spine position. Send the tailbone back, upper back strong, shoulders wide. Breathing out again to tuck the tailbone under, to direct the tailbone to between the heels, pelvic diamond, back of your waist quickly working. Keep the insides of the legs lengthening away, gluteal muscles begin to pull up, upper back works, lift into the crown. Breathing in, breathing out to roll back down through the spine. So you can just go to the same height as last time, or you can roll deeper if that suits you this time. Breathing in, some support through the legs or through the floor, stretching and lengthening the spine between the tailbone and the crown, neutral spine here. Once again, exhalation, let the knees bend, swing the tailbone so it directs to between the heels, rolling up pelvic diamond, back of your waist, quickly bringing the strength in, back of the ribcage and shoulders, gluteal muscles pull up, backs of your thighs, fronts of the thighs, lift into the crown. Last time. So again, you can work at either of the 2 previous levels of forward flexion, or you can roll a little bit further. Let your spine really flow, let your knees bend so your spine is able to flow easily. And then from here, let the tailbone lengthen away from the crown of the head, shoulder blades wide and lifting up back towards your sitting bones. Once again, from there, we send the tailbone under, rolling up. So on this really long flexion, quickly get the strength into the back of the waist. Quickly get the shoulder blades moving wide and down the back so the strength's behind you. Pull up through the gluteal muscles. Pelvic diamond working. Front and back of thighs working. Upper back working. Lifting into the crown. Quick posture check. Weight even through the soles of the feet. Tailbone sinking. Crown of the head lifting. Core supporting. Well done. I hope that you've enjoyed this Pilates video and see you again soon on Movement Style. Please think of subscribing so that you can always get the latest video releases when I make a new video. Thanks for watching.